Good hello everybody and welcome to today's video. This is going to be a little bit different than my typical videos, mostly because I've never done a review of a book before. So I wanted to talk to you about the John Green novel Paper Towns, which is the book that I just finished reading a couple of days ago. Honestly, I'm really thoroughly impressed with it. Not that I didn't think it was going to be a good book, but I just really enjoyed it a lot. So this story is about a boy named Quentin, or Q for short, and his friend and longtime crush Margot Roth-Spiegelman. Great name, by the way. And I don't really want to get too much into the plot of the book, but the background is basically just that it covers this sort of end of high school sort of transitional journey for this group of young kids. And so Q and this girl Margot sort of have a really interesting evening together. That sounded really sexual, I didn't mean it like that. And she ends up actually leaving town, and basically the story covers Quentin's journey along with his friends trying to find out where she has disappeared to. So I'm just basically going to give you a few reasons why I really enjoyed this novel, and then I want to actually kind of finish with asking you guys a couple of questions. So the story takes place in Florida, specifically in Orlando, and the reason that I really loved that about the book is because it was so easy for me to visualize the places that these characters were visiting because I've been to most of them. I grew up in Florida, and so the stuff that John writes about in the novel is stuff that is really, really near and dear to me. It's stuff that I know about, it's stuff that I've experienced. You know, driving those interstates, those roads that he talks about, I've been on those very same roads. So it's really interesting, you know, it was cool to be able to read about that and kind of, you know, have an idea in my mind and sort of have the emotion that goes along with what it's like to be in those exact same places. Another thing that I really liked about the novel was that he discusses imagination and kind of being able to place yourself in someone else's position or in someone else's shoes a lot. That's a huge, huge theme of the story. And I think it is so cool that he actually says, there's one part in the book where he talks about imagination being a fascist killing machine, and it's so cool because it echoes back to another part of the story when he talks about Woody Guthrie, who had that little sticker on his guitar that says this machine kills fascists and all that. So it was a pretty cool tie-in. But I think it's awesome that he is encouraging young readers to try to expand their creative mind and not be afraid to sort of let yourself go. And that having an imagination and sort of having that creative freedom and openness is something that makes you you, and it's also something that allows you to relate to other people. So it's a really powerful force, and I think it's very cool that he addressed that. And finally, the last part that I kind of wanted to touch on is really what I would say is like the major theme of the story, which is that everybody has a kind of predetermined idea of someone, you know, especially visually. You know, when you see someone, you judge them. And it's very difficult to try to re-understand someone or reimagine someone in a way different than the sort of idea that you have already built in your head about them, especially if you knew them from a very young age and they are now grown up and are a completely different person. I just thought it was really cool that he sort of touched on the fact that we all have these ideas of each person that's in our lives, and that they might not line up at all with the way that person sees themselves or how they really are. And when I kind of dove a little deeper into that thought and started sort of applying that to my own life and thinking about it in terms of how I relate to people, I started to sort of apply it more to the YouTube side, and it kind of opened up this really interesting discussion, and this is kind of where I wanted to talk to you guys and sort of open the floor for questions. I wanted to ask you guys if you've ever had an experience like that, where you've had a friend or someone who kind of had an idea of you that wasn't exactly right, and how that ended up, or what sort of came about when that situation changed, when the other person either realized that you were different or when you realized that you were different. I just wanted to kind of ask you, I don't know, that's not a very clear question, but basically what I'm saying is, have you ever been misjudged and how did you handle it? That's kind of the more concise way to put that question. So I kind of wanted to also take this more into a YouTube perspective, because when I started thinking about having predetermined ideas about people and sort of imagining someone in a certain way and realizing they were different, it just really brought me to an audience and their relationship with a specific YouTuber. So I kind of just wanted to sort of open that discussion too, and, you know, ask you guys, have you ever met a YouTuber and the idea that you had of them was completely shattered when you met them in person? Or have you found that a lot of YouTubers are very similar to how they are in their videos? Because I know that this has been discussed widely on panels at different events and all kinds of stuff like that. And my personal opinion on it isn't really the point of this video, but I definitely think that, you know, the way that I am in my videos is a little bit exaggerated. It's kind of a caricature of myself. The things that I say and my opinions are all very real, but I obviously don't talk this loudly and make these kinds of gestures necessarily all the time in my real life. But it is true that many of you will never meet me, and I will never meet many of you, and while that's sad, that's just the fact. And I don't know, I think it's pretty interesting to talk about ideas of people and just how you might feel about someone that you've never met. So yeah, that was just kind of a crazy rant. I don't know if any of that made sense. I'm gonna have a hell of a time trying to edit this because I'm just like rambling and I haven't really got a clear cut sort of focus. I just was super stoked to see John Green using his talent and his reach and his humor, you know, to just expose young adults to these really interesting concepts and to kind of get critical thinking in motion and inspiring people to read books, because I feel like people don't do that as much anymore and it's kind of sad. So yeah, if you guys have read Paper Towns, let me know what you thought about the book. I was super impressed. John, you did an amazing job. It was a great story. And I'm pretty stoked too because this has actually been made into a movie. So this is the second of John's novels that has been made into a feature film, and it is going to be released this year, which is really cool and I cannot wait to see it. So yeah, if you guys have anything you want to discuss about the book, please feel free to either tweet me, it's just at allispeed, or you can write some questions or just talk about your feelings in the comments, and I would love to share in that with you. Alright guys, thanks again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and I'll see you next time. Bye guys!